The HiPipo Chronicles, this is a podcast where we get to document the journey through 2005 to currently. We are in 2023 when we are recording this. So this is the HiPipo Chronicles, the podcast. My name is Mark Xtreme, and we are with the CEO of HiPipo, and that is Innocent Kawooya. So we talked about 2009. We wrapped up with the Diva Awards, and you attending the awards and presenting an award to Irene Amuiru
in an oversized
in an oversized shirt.
Yeah. Nago. Welo.
This podcast is starting off on a high, so I hope you get on that. So we get to document the journey of HiPipo because currently it's making 19 years this year, 2023, and we are looking forward to the 20th year, which will be next year, which is interesting. Maybe you're listening to this when you're already 20 years in, so well, never too late. Thank you so much for joining us. Nonetheless, we are available on all podcast app platforms. Don't forget to give us some feedback, share with some of your friends, and also leave a comment if you did interact with HiPipo during that time or at any particular time. If it was in 2005, whether 2010, 12, we want to listen from you. All right. That is at HiPipo across all social media platforms, Twitters, Facebook, all that, in Instagram and all the others. HiPipo. That's where you have to get us from. So we're talking about another important part, which HiPipo later delves in more, which is aggregation. And that is for music, and then we have streaming and caller tunes.
Yes.
Which is now the caller tunes are like the bigger part of the business. Yes. A lot of people make money from that.
Yeah.
So talk to me about delving into that journey, and at the time, what was the climate like?
Oh, thank you, Mark. It's always a pleasure and privilege for me to be here, myself and all the children that I am father to, like my daughters and my sons, the sons of my brothers, the sons of my friends, and the daughters of my sisters, my brothers, everyone. Well, I was just getting excited about that joke of Welowe. And I wanted to tell you about the fact that the landscape was like Welowe, like around that time, very sluggish to see. I don't know whether that's the right word to use, but we were living in a very sluggish environment. We were being very careless with everything we were creating as content. So see, we are in a space where musicians only know that there are only about maybe two ways of them making money from their music,
which is shows,
and maybe if you are lucky, like Bobby Wine or Peter Miles or Comedian, then you can get one endorsement that is formal, or you get a don like Sudil Lupaeria, like Mbire, to pay you to do a song or to sing for them. And the others that were doing karaoke were stripping, like really. You remember the Amandas and Shadows and all that, those stories. They were the big stories. No, honestly, I mean, those were the big stories. So parents, you remember those days, Mark? Parents didn't want their children to do music.
They didn't want at all.
Because they thought it was for strippers.
Yes.
Because they thought musicians are thugs. Because they thought it was up to nothing. And then the musicians themselves thought they were thugs. Many of them were too indecent to even ever realize that they could do so much. So I think you remember 2010 is the same year when Baby Cool was shot. And when we had Arakeli Must Play hits, and we talked about the time when we created a campaign for MTN Fast for UB40, another for Zayn Arakeli Must Play hits, and I think around the same year, Zayn was acquired by Airtel. I mean, so we are having these conversations.
Zayn was acquired by Warid.
By Airtel.
Oh yeah, Airtel.
Then they got married.
Oh yeah.
Eventually,
Warid
please.
It was a merger.
It was a merger. So there is a marriage that happened. Sheikh Nahayam's business and Airtel. So we are having all these conversations with people we knew in the telecom world. Luckily, some of us were working in a telecom environment around that time. Me, except me, everyone else was either in MTN or Airtel or Zain or Arid or whatever it is. And we're having these big concepts. We can do mobile dedications, conversations of the song can be dedicated to people for birthdays, for the ones who love the musician. We don't have a payment solution to have music paid for, but we can do this on HiPipo.
Yeah.
But we're saying, how much can we do it? How many but then we have a good share of the customers, and we say, if you have maybe 150,000 people that are following you and are coming on the site every month, I mean, unique users,
yeah.
Then you have a way of dedicating songs to honor this community. But it's not enough. By that time, Uganda, I think, is about 30 million people.
Yeah.
And East Africa has an average of the same population in every one of the countries, apart from Rwanda and Burundi.
Yeah.
So we want to tell musicians, you cannot only be making money from performance.
Yeah.
The example of Bebe Cool who gets shot has a year of not working, of no performances. But of course, he also managed to do Kase Pichi and...
in his wheelchair.
Yeah, in his wheelchair.
That was motor-driven.
What are you saying?
It's about moves around.
Okay. I didn't know about that.
You thought he was on this one where you keep
but I used to see it. I never used to pay attention. Because I used to be with him at Bigo's place all the time. I mean, when he returned for his big size concert, HiPipo is the one that sponsored it and injected a lot of investment in make sure it is a successful event. But we want to tell them there is another way of making money. One, there are streaming platforms, the likes of MySpace that was still working very well. No one has done something like MySpace anywhere.
MySpace was more than just an interaction platform.
No one has done it, especially for the music side.
The only one getting closer maybe might be TikTok, but it doesn't there are some people that get discovered on TikTok. Yeah. And it's kind of like building up but MySpace,
But see, TikTok is not specialized for some. Yeah. MySpace had really, really gone deep into being. I mean, the only neighbor is HiPipo all the time. Yeah, for that reason. Yeah. But from the other side of examples that are not away from HiPipo, MySpace really did a great job. So we want to show them direction on what can be done out of the music. I mean, musicians at that time have watched so many movies, but they don't even know that their music can be used as tracks in movies.
Syncs.
I'm sure even up to the very many of them don't know.
Yeah, it's evident how many have syncs. So
so
deals,
they don't. So they are all thinking about, I get a show and perform
and get money
and get paid. I make a concert. And then they don't make money. Many of them, you remember there was those very good bad days of the battle of Bobby Wine and Bebe Cool.
Yeah.
So others aligned with the same battle because you are on this side and the other is on the other. So many times they are putting up concerts and they don't make money. We also had one flop on our own list. Yeah, I mean, we had a good flop with our show with Kid Fox. It's really good. What's his name? The gentleman? Maddox and Kid Fox?
Maddox and Kid Fox.
It was so cold.
That was somewhere down
Ginger
there.
Road. You have no idea. It was a cold night, I can tell you.
I heard there were a lot of echoes.
Big and Chadon.
When you're
like 40 of you.
Like, hey, and then you hear, hey,
we felt it and like, okay. I mean, we had our share of all not learning. I mean, preaching and not even practicing what you preach and ending up falling in the same ditch. Yeah.
So for the benefit of people who don't know what you're talking about, HiPipo was working with Kid Fox at the time. Yeah.
And several other musicians.
Many other musicians, Bebe Cool, Bobby Wine, all this. Yes. You were working with these people.
Yes.
And you wanted to do a show.
Yes.
Kid Fox and Maddox.
Yeah.
These are two artists who you would think at the time were going to Ghana. The attraction and people would buy in to watch because Maddox is a good performer, Kid Fox is a good performer. They have good music too. But you stage a concert and go over on Ginger Road, this other side. Empeo.
Life. Well, some of the things, should teach us so many lessons.
But it's a good thing though. Because I'm sure that after that, because you didn't stop doing that event, you've done events
no one
still
stopped
even do events even this year.
We had many other, I mean, even when we partnered with other people.
Yeah.
This one I'll not mention my friend. She will feel so hurt about it. But we had the collaboration running an event, and then we took it at Aero Beach on New Year's. Yeah.
And what happened? You could hear the waves.
the
sweeping
waves.
the banks of the beach.
Yeah, it was trouble. Why? Because there's so much we never wanted to do, especially relating with data.
Yeah.
We didn't want to analyze and based on facts to actually create synergies and create events that are based on facts.
Yeah.
But rather we thought everything could be based on excitement. That yes, today, when a musician from the ghetto that speaks about the ghetto gets a hit on internet, they have a hit issue because people are using internet. And yes, we were telling people, can we formalize and create ways of creating very deliberate ways of making revenue out of these things? I mean, some of the booms that have happened on internet leave the brands that were booming very poor.
Yeah.
Not because they were supposed to be very poor, but because there's not been any aggregation of the content and the information. So we have to dive into helping create synergies and conversations between musicians, the managers, and telecoms, and then also educating so many of them about how much they could get by getting their music on international streaming platforms. Of course, ours was available, but our HiPipo was to make the right publicity for all of them, not to ever sell any of their songs. But the others could help them now start to walk into a journey of monetizing their music. But as you very well know, Mark, the avenues for commercializing music have never been limited to that. I mean, today, you'll ask most of the top musicians in our country if they have a wave file for all the songs they have released. And they don't have them.
No, there's when we had an artist come on to one of the interviews, and this is when I used to do a morning show, and he literally asked me his song because he didn't have it.
And who was that? No, we are not ashamed him.
But it happens to all of them, right?
Yes,
so you ask them,
does.
hey, give me, when you're sending me a song, okay, do you have the 3-piece?
Yes.
The wave, the a cappella, the instrumental, and the full song?
Yes.
And you find someone doesn't have that. He just has the song that he got from the studio, and yet he has paid for the project, doesn't have the data for the project at all. And this affects you later on, because when you want to go back, as time changes, devices change, to remaster the same project and put it out, you can't do that. And now you lose value for a good project later on, because I know some people's songs that you can't listen to at this point because of the quality.
Maybe they think the 3 P's is people, power, and popularity. Maybe because I'm imagining, well, we still have a very long way to go as at the industry, and now broadly for the creative arts industry, especially to do with maximizing their digital dividend. COVID should be a lesson for us. I mean, clearly back in the days.
Clearly it hasn't been.
It hasn't been, but it should be. Thing. Now, for us, we should make sure that we make use of that we learned from COVID and the many things we had seen over the years to now create campaigns and initiatives that are geared toward deliberately training these musicians.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark, one of these days, we might have to get forcefully every musician into a classroom to learn some things.
I thought they are learning right now.
No, I'm saying they're learning as they're watching here, but we might have to get them into this classroom and tell them when the HiPipo Chronicles is running, no one is supposed to be performing.
Every time the episode drops.
Yes, you're supposed to be watching.
Yeah.
And this applies to every of them, our friends, Bebe Cool, Bobby Wine, every one of them, Chameleon, everyone, because they want to run record labels. They want to manage artists at their later ages. They want to be in charge of the industry and associations and federations. And they're supposed to have this education. Why? They needed to shape how they think about music and how they maximize their returns on their music. See, I don't know how many people in this world don't fear losses like musicians in Uganda and East Africa.
Oh, they really...
Yeah.
It's a laissez-faire business.
I don't know. You invest money in a project, a lot of money, you do a song, have it mastered.
Pay that man over there a lot of money to shoot a video.
Yeah, pay NG Films a lot of money to shoot a video. And then after you making some maybe 50 million, 60, and some of them after finding some good things of their good old habits, then you drop the song, you do another. Then you've left it for the world. I mean, a friend of mine one time got angry and decided to get all his music off any caller tune. It's been about 8 years now of not being anywhere. And it was because of a disagreement with an aggregator. Of course, there was a lot of irregularities around the time. We are pushing for saying music should be on caller tunes for everyone so you can make money. The telecoms on one side are being very, very, very crazy about their rates. They take 50% because they own infrastructure that they invested in once. Of course, they have to maintain it.
Yeah.
But the maintenance happens as a result of all of us making money. There is another player in the middle. There is an aggregator who makes money from the same. And then there's a musician who owns the art, but then they get 50% of the 50% that the
remains.
aggregator. Yes, exactly. So, and then no one is making any effort to show musicians that this is how the revenue is split. This is how we come to you having 5 million, not 50 that we made when the song was done. So, of course, we decide to make sure that we teach the ones we can, show them. But the teaching really had to be exemplary, in a sense that we had to help them get this work done ourselves. When you want to get metadata for a song, they're not going to type.
Yeah.
Because they type with one finger, it takes a whole hour typing 10 sentences. So you have to sit with them and get the things done. I mean, aggregating music and getting it streamed for the viewers of HiPipo Chronicles, it might sound, for those who are educated and knowledgeable, it might sound like an easy thing.
No, it's not.
But until when we break it down to the real facts of what it is, that a musician wakes up and they don't even know 3 lines in their song written. So they have no lyrics. So when someone ever wants to buy it and they want to buy the lyrics because that is their inspiration, they have to work backwards. A musician doesn't remember the name of the songwriter. They don't remember the name of the producer. They did ask the producer that, did you play all the instruments yourselves, or you got this track somewhere and just supplemented it to have a track for me? I mean, all the things are happening, and they're all conversations around aggregating music, but also making sure that we find the way of creating revenue from them. The likes of Kawooya are not really booming anymore. I mean, there were big stories. They used to buy albums, give someone his 7 million. They go and then make copies, whichever many copies they could make. Wasn't really our business. They were in business. So as long as they have consent and agreement with the musician, they get what is done. But all that is happening in the same space. And we have a new advent of digitization. We have internet, that is a new wave that is creating easier ways for a musician who has never been to Guru to have access to listenership in Guru.
Yes.
That is giving leverage for a musician who has never traveled anywhere away from Kampala to have people in Sweden listening to them and actually becoming their fans.
Yeah, so that's and I know this because for all the time we have interacted, you've always talked about how musicians should use the numbers they say they have, because a lot of them like telling you, oh my god, I have a million. They tell you I have 1 million likes on Facebook, right? Then you're like, okay, yes, 1 million, but what is the return on that? And they'll tell you, oh, I get endorsements. Yes, but we mean the return of these millions that actually watch, that actually, like the stuff you do, that are following your page and doing all that. Because other people, know how to take advantage of that. They know how to make sure they make you buy the music. They'll tell you, oh, as this album is coming out, I'm bundling it up with some new merchandise that you can buy. So when you buy merchandise, you get a CD. Yeah. You buy this, you get this. You get a CD. So how are you using the numbers? Because you've always talked about earning more from what you have in the digital space. Yes. Because a lot of them think that when you say you need to earn more, you're saying they need to make more shows or do more endorsements. You're actually talking about the more of having a product that you can sell to the numbers that you actually generate. Yes. And I think it always keeps their mind. I don't know, maybe later on we shall get another episode, because this is almost getting done. We shall get another episode maybe where we shall try and expound more on that. As far as earning more, he doesn't mean making more shows. He means earning from the numbers that come to see you because of the music. What are you in turn giving them?
See, Mark, how funny, maybe as we conclude, how funny is it that someone has 1 million likes and then for a whole year they can't convince 20,000 people
to
pay them 10,000 Ugandan shillings
to come to a show.
Or in context, not even for the show. In context, say to pay them $3 just to make sure they watch their end of year concert as fans.
Yeah.
Just 2%. We're not saying don't
You're
get
not saying
10%. No. I mean, with a $3 of 20,000, that's $60,000. That is being rich in any economy, whether you're in America, whether you're in Switzerland,
anywhere on planet Earth.
Yeah, anywhere. And I mean, you can record good songs. You can do one good video with NG Films, and then become a better creator of content eventually. So, I mean, we are talking about aggregation, and we are saying, can we use those numbers around us to make more revenue, more returns, and more benefits that are sustainable for us for a long period of time? I mean, you can convince 20,000 of 1 million people to become your lifetime fans.
Yes.
They subscribe to a musician's
they get
club.
Things that not everyone gets.
Yeah, a fans club. They get letters. I mean, we had created fans clubs on HiPipo as a student event platform. And the essence was saying whoever becomes a fan has to pay for being your fan. So when they pay, they subscribe and say they pay every year, maybe $10. And everything exclusive happens in that space. When you're releasing a song, before anyone else sees it,
they are the first ones to listen to it.
They watch it for a day, I mean, and they tell people, have you watched this? And then all that. That's all aggregation that we're talking about.
Yeah. So how many clubs did you start up? I know those fans clubs you started up.
Yeah. There's so many. We're going to get to that, I guess. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. This is the HiPipo Chronicles. This is episode 12. Okay. And in case you've missed any of the episodes, go check them out. If this is the one that you're getting introduced to us, there are more that you can get and listen to or watch too. So we shall be back next time. But remember to send us your feedback on our social media platforms. Just search for HiPipo, whether Twitter, Facebook, whatever comes easy for you. And then also let us know if you have any stories as far as HiPipo goes, your interaction with HiPipo. When was your first time that you got to interact with HiPipo? Even you got to hear of HiPipo, and what was it about that you had? And we want to listen to those stories. So at HiPipo, that is on Twitter and Facebook or other social media platforms. But get the HiPipo Chronicles on all podcast apps of choice. Until next time.